All right, welcome back, everybody. Here again with Kevin Leung. And man, this is one of my favorite things to look at. Everyone has all this experience in real estate after about 10 years in the business and a very successful career. Congratulations on that. So I love asking this question. You get to have this benefit of having all the knowledge you have. You're starting your business over. Sometimes that means you move into a new marketplace, but I know a lot of people, especially since were you born in Calgary?
I was born here, yeah.
Born and raised. So you had some, you know some people, you have a bit of a network already, but not everyone does. So from your perception, I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes in your business.
For sure.
But you also did some stuff good.
Yeah.
Obviously, here you are. Yeah. You're Rookie of the Year. It couldn't have been all bad.
Yeah.
So take us through and start, and you sent over some notes here. So let's kick off. And you were talking about how a business plan is something that you felt would have been helpful, was important. Take us through that. Do you have a business plan when you started?
No, didn't think of one. Didn't just kind of rolled with it. But
Nice.
Looking back, for sure, that's one thing I would say I should have done a true business plan. See where the profit and losses are. Just because it turns out there's a lot of fees that we don't account for, right?
Yeah.
And it's very, very easy to overspend as a realtor, right? Because we're like, oh, great idea here, great idea. Oh, this might work, right? And we start advertising, but not really thinking about, well, how much money am I actually going to take home, right? So
and tracking that as you go along.
Exactly, right? And then building in some contingencies and what do you need to live, right? So it's kind of working backwards. So you need $5,000 a month to live, So what does that actually equate to? How many deals do I need to actually do, right? So
yeah, and lots of people, I love that because we always talk about this set point that people have. If you're used to making $70,000 a year or $700,000 a year over year, you usually come really close to that. Yeah. And lots of times people aren't making enough to save for retirement, aren't making enough to actually put away and reinvest in their business. They take every dollar out of their business. Yeah. At the end of the year, it's like, well, I can't invest $5,000 back into my database or into a new website or something like that because they have no money. But I love what you talked about this P&L because you can see exactly what's happening. And then you might realize that you've been making, $80,000, but you need 130 and the panic monster sets in and now you do sort of 130 in business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. You also mentioned the importance of taking action each day. Tell us about that and tell us what you did or you didn't do and how that relates to what you think you should have done.
Well, taking action, that's the hard part. I think a lot of us, we don't time block or and we just kind of, we get a phone call, we run away or we get that email and we start, goes down a weird tangent. So I think it's important to time block, right? And I wish I did that. So I'm making those follow-up calls. I'm touching base with the, referrals and past clients or networking. So, just kind of setting some time to do that, right? And being consistent because as opposed to, did it one day, didn't do it the next day, forget to write those notes, after obviously we've had a lot of new tools that didn't exist when I first started like Ninja.
Yeah.
So, kind of writing those notes, right? Just taking time to write those 2 notes a day and taking care of those little things, right? So.
Yeah. And you talked about, doing them so consistently.
Yeah.
And I love, he sent over some notes and says, I'd advise myself, I love this, to take massive and consistent action every day to generate leads.
Yes.
And you would use time blocking as the...
Yeah, I think that's one thing, that would allow you to be consistent because then at least you have that hour or 2 hours, whatever it is, a day to do that.
Let me dig into this a little bit because you have small kids.
Yes.
At home. And I know there's a lot of people that have families at home. And with COVID, it's obviously a little bit different, but the majority of time in your life, COVID won't be here. But give us, what would you do knowing what you know today, that you got this small family, you're trying to give yourself time to block out that time. What are some things that you would do with your kids or to organize that around your family?
I've been organizing everything around my family essentially. Yeah. So nap time seems to be a good time to do a lot of the stuff. So it's just. Do you have a consistent nap time with your kids? Yeah. So, my son still has a very consistent nap time. So
nice.
between that, 1 to 3-ish, that's when we kind of pound out as much stuff as possible. Just kind of working around their schedule and kind of dealing with it from there. COVID's kind of thrown a wrench into things because,
of course,
my daughter's at home a lot now too. So,
yeah.
But when she was at school, it was a little bit easier. So we only had the one, right? So
nice
at home. So
I love how 2-parent child or 2 or 3-parent kids are like, oh, it's so much easier now because we only have one at home. And Kirsten and I are like, this is awful. How did you guys do it? And you're like, oh my God, you just see it with 3, so that's funny. Okay. I love that. And I love how you, you figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
For myself, it would have been like, I need to start time blocking, 8 or 9 till 11 type thing. But for you, like, no, it's 1 to 3 where that stuff, I love that. Love that. CRMs.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Did you start with a CRM?
No, and that was a big mistake that I made right off the bat, was not having a CRM, and not having a good place to track everything. Keeping track of the birth dates, the home anniversaries, stuff like that, right? So that is one regret I have, and is that I didn't start that earlier, because it's really hard to catch up, especially every passing year. Then it's like, you meet more people, and at some point it just spirals out of control, and it's just really hard to.
What do you use now as a CRM?
I don't use anything fancy. I just use my Google, to be honest. Just
what I do too.
Yeah. So very, very easy. I don't think there's a need to be super fancy with it. Google, it's synced up with my phone, so everything's there. So good to go. And that seems to work for me anyways. And there's a notes section. So, if there's anything special, it's in their notes. So good enough for.
I just say the system and the routine are so much more important than the technology.
Yeah.
People just get caught up. Well, I just want something that's going to send them automatically here and there. It's like, no. Just get something that has reminders in it. You can get it done, and and just keep it simple. It's the user that's going to determine the effectiveness of the software. Love that. So, also marketing, and you alluded to the importance of marketing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So another thing is, if I could go back, it would be sit down and actually do a true marketing plan right off the bat. Think about, what am I going to do? What are the different ways I'm going to generate leads? I'm a big believer of that pillar system that you were talking, 4 pillars. But obviously something I should have done and actually put a lot of thought in right off the hop was, what am I going to do to actually generate these leads? Am I going to do referrals? Or am I going to look for networking opportunities? What am I going to do? Am I going to build that website right off the bat? Right. So those are kind of the different things that I would have thought about and had a plan going into it. It would have been save some money right off the bat.
Let me put you in the hot seat a little bit again and just ask you this. So in terms of marketing and those pillars, and so one of the things we talk about with the pillars is, you can't have like a single table with a single table leg. And let's say your marketing strategy, you don't know many people in town, so your only marketing strategy is open houses. Well, if you get 1 million listings in the market, open houses become less effective. And if that's your only table or leg on the table, then the table is going to collapse. So having, like 4 to 5 different marketing pillars, then everything has a season. So today, what were some of them? Just give us a couple things that you would make sure that you included in your marketing plan now.
Obviously one is to find a good mortgage broker to work with. That's how actually I started, and I found a really good one. They had a lot of leads. I found a very successful mortgage broker that had a lot of leads.
So call that like a strategic relationship.
Exactly. And that was able to pass along some of those leads. So that was, definitely a key to starting. And then just networking and building, letting, your sphere of influence know, right? Like we talked about in my very beginning, was that go for the low hanging fruit is what you always said, right? Like, don't try to be fancy. Just, pick the people that and kind of go from there. And then I also, over the years, I was able to be number 2 on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
Right. Because they had realtors or they had partners already. And then over the years, for whatever reason, and, number 1 fell off the list, and I all of a sudden became number 1, and I became the realtor, for whether it was a builder or for the clients or whoever, so that's been,
you almost won through consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. And too many people try to spend so much time saying, hey, the person you're working with right now sucks, which is a horrible way to market, by the way. Try to do it through negativity. Oh, don't use that realtor, use me. It's like, hey, you may have a realtor relationship right now, and that's great. But if you change or you need a second opinion or anything like that, look at me because, I'm here as well. Your guy's great. That's it. Because the turnover that's in this industry is massive.
It's huge.
Especially when we talk about builders and markets go down and the builder says, I'm still happy with the realtor, but I just want to try somebody else. I just want to add some more fuel to that fire and, some more wood on there. And so you can come in and add more horsepower. Now, another thing you talked about is this concept of like a unique value proposition. Why is that important for a realtor?
Well, there's lots of us. There's lots of realtors, right? So I think, the one thing I never thought about in the beginning was, what is it that I'm doing different? How am I different than another realtor, right? Why should someone use me over the other 5,000 plus realtors, right?
Totally.
So, that's one thing is to actually sit down and think about, hey, what is it that I do different? What value do I provide that no one else can? Or something a little bit different that, makes you stand out a little bit, right?
I love that. That's such good advice. And for some of you that are, I had some questions and we had some amazing, emails when Kevin, it was announced that Kevin's going to be taking over the position at the downtown office. And one of the questions that is in some people's back of people's minds is, Kevin is a very successful, active realtor right now. We give our managers 6 to 12 months to wrap their businesses up because obviously we have a non-selling management team. But, someone who's active coming in, we give some leeway on that. So, Kevin will be transitioning his business and he has a plan for that already, which is awesome. That's nothing new. He's practicing what he's preaching. So that's awesome. But Kevin will be transitioning out of that. And I love that you're going to bring so much knowledge to the team on that. Any final thoughts on this? Any final advice to give to people about starting up their business?
A lot of it's just doing it, just getting out there and just taking action. Planning is something, but you have to actually implement it and kind of refine the process as you go. That's another big thing is I've noticed is just do it and then
you'll never learn more than getting out there and putting the rubber to the road.
Exactly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time. And we have a video transition coming up that is from Pacesetter Homes, and this is coming from Melissa Koss. Now, Melissa's not in the video, but Melissa Koss has a relationship with Pacesetter Sterling, and they're talking about Lanark Landing. And what we wanted to just let you guys know is we had Joel Gwillem, I believe Graywood Properties and Developments did another video. We want to encourage you guys, if you're working with developers who have a project with, more than 5 listings type thing. They got a little bit of a bigger project. We don't just want sort of the one-offs. Then shoot a video, send it to us, and we will show this. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to make sure Melissa Koss and the project there gets some exposure. But we want to make sure that you guys can work with these developers, let them know you're going to be putting it out there in front of realtors. So I definitely want to thank Melissa for doing that. And there's no criteria. Well, the criteria is that it's got to be under 5 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes is ideal. And then we'll show it and you guys can make sure the developer gets a little bit more exposure. So that's what's coming up next. And then we will see you guys to talk about 11 time management tips. Talk to you in a bit.